Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. The fluorescent lights of the ER cast harsh shadows across my father's swollen face as I rushed through the automatic doors at 3:17 a.m. Frank Donovan, 72 years old and tougher than most men half his age, lay unconscious on a hospital bed with his jaw wired shut and his left eye sealed with purple bruising. "Mr. Donovan?" The nurse's voice cut through my rage-induced tunnel vision. "Your father regained consciousness about an hour ago. He's been asking for you." I approached his bedside, my combat boots silent against the linoleum, old habits from my 8 years as a Navy SEAL. "Dad's good," I opened, focusing on me with the same steel determination I'd inherited. "Son," he whispered through swollen lips, his voice barely audible. "I went to your home to surprise you with Mom's ring. Wanted to give it to Claire for your anniversary next week." His breathing was labored, each word a struggle. "But I caught your wife and your nephew discussing your accident plan. Their thug friends saw me recording, beat me unconscious." The world tilted. Claire, my wife of 6 years, and Tyler, my sister's kid who I'd helped raise after she died in a car crash. The same Tyler I'd paid for college, helped get clean from drugs, treated like my own son. "What accident plan?" I kept my voice steady, but my hands were already forming fists. "Dad's good," I locked onto mine. "They want you dead, son. Insurance money. Tyler's in gambling debt to some very dangerous people. Claire, she's been playing the long game." My Navy SEAL training kicked in. Emotional compartmentalization, tactical assessment, threat evaluation. They'd forgotten why my unit called me the Phantom in Iraq. I could move through enemy territory for days without detection, eliminating targets who never saw me coming. But first I needed intel. "Dad, where's your phone?" "The recording." He managed a weak smile. "Hidden it before they got me. Safety deposit box 447 at First National. Keys taped under my workbench." Dr. Patricia Voss entered, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Donovan, your father needs surgery to realign his jaw properly. We're looking at 6 hours minimum." Perfect. That gave me time to gather intelligence and plan my next move. "I'll be back, Dad. And I promise you, they'll pay for what they did to you." As I left the hospital, I called my old SEAL buddy, Rick Bulldog Morrison, who now ran a private security firm. "Phoenix, what's the emergency?" Rick's gravelly voice came through immediately. He'd never dropped my old call sign. "I need surveillance equipment and a clean car. Someone's planning to kill me, and I need to know everything before I make my move." "Copy that. My warehouse in 30. Rick handed me a duffel bag containing micro cameras, audio surveillance equipment, and a prepaid phone. "Phoenix, you sure you want to go dark ops on this? We could call the feds." "The feds won't understand. This is personal." I checked the Glock 19 he'd included. "Besides, I need to know how deep this goes before anyone else gets involved." "Roger that. GPS trackers in the bag, too. Plan on your nephew's car. I'll monitor from my end and feed you intel." The drive home took 20 minutes, enough time to formulate my approach. Claire thought I was on a business trip to Denver until tomorrow evening. My company, Donovan Security Consulting, provided tactical training to law enforcement. It was the perfect cover for my real expertise. I parked 3 blocks away and approached my house through the wooded backyard. Every light was off except the master bedroom. Through my night vision scope, I could see Claire pacing while talking on her phone, her blonde hair catching the lamplight. "Tyler, he'll be back tomorrow. Are you sure your friends can make it look like a home invasion?" Her voice carried through the slightly open window. "Relax, Claire. Danny's crew knows how to stage these things. They'll rough you up just enough to make it believable, grab some valuables, then put 3 in Phoenix's chest when he walks through the door. You'll be a grieving widow with $1 million insurance payout." Tyler's voice came from the speaker. He wasn't even here. "What about the old man?" Claire asked. "Danny's boys handle that. Should have minded his own business. If he survives, he'll be too brain damaged to remember anything." The cold fury that had carried me through 13 confirmed kills in Fallujah settled over me like armor. These weren't enemy combatants in a war zone. They were family, people I'd loved and trusted, planning my murder for money. I activated the micro camera and audio recorder, then slipped closer to the window. "When do I get my cut?" Claire's greed was naked in her voice. After the funeral, Danny wants 50% for the crew. I get 30 for setting it up. You get 20. 20%? Tyler, I'm the one taking all the risk here. You're also the one who's been cheating on Phoenix for 2 years. Danny's got photos of you and that bartender from Flanagan. Insurance companies investigate, Claire. You want them finding out about your affair. My wife had been cheating. The betrayal cut deeper than the murder plot. Every anniversary dinner, every I love you, every time I'd risked my life overseas thinking about coming home to her. All lies. But Tyler had just given me leverage. Photos meant blackmail. And blackmail meant Tyler was as trapped as Claire. Fine, 20%. But Phoenix dies tomorrow night. Guaranteed. Danny's crew hits the house at 10 p.m. sharp. Make sure you're in the bedroom when Phoenix gets home. Scream loud when you hear the breaking glass. Sell the performance. I'd heard enough. Time to shift from intelligence gathering to psychological warfare. The next morning, I called Claire from my hotel in Denver. Hey, baby, miss me? Of course I do. Her voice was perfectly modulated. Loving wife waiting for her husband's return. She'd missed her calling as an actress. How's the conference? Boring as hell. Listen, I might be home earlier than expected. Flight got moved up to this afternoon instead of evening. A pause. Oh, that's great. What time should I expect you? Around 6, maybe 7. Thought we could have a quiet dinner together. Perfect. I'll cook your favorite. The irony was delicious. She'd be cooking my last meal while coordinating my execution. Love you, Claire. Love you too. The line went dead, and immediately I called Tyler. Uncle Phoenix. How's Denver? Cut the shit, Tyler. My voice dropped to the icy tone that had terrified insurgents. I know about the plan. Silence. I don't know what you're. 3 a.m. emergency call about Dad. Broken jaw. Sound familiar? I could hear his breathing quicken. Phoenix, man, I can explain. No explanations. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Danny's crew and tell them the job's off. Then you're going to disappear. If I see you again, I'll finish what your gambling buddy started with Dad. Phoenix, you don't understand. Danny's not going to just walk away. He's already invested in this. Then uninvest him. I can't. He owns me, man. 60 grand in debt. And he's threatened to kill me if I don't deliver. You dying solves everyone's problems. Wrong. It solves everyone's problems except mine. I let that sink in. You have until noon to figure this out, or I start solving my own problems. The line went dead. Tyler had just revealed the real puppet master, Danny. Time to meet the man who thought he could kill a Navy SEAL. Rick's intel came through within hours. Danny Kozlov ran a mid-level criminal enterprise out of an auto shop in the industrial district. Loan sharking, debt collection, the occasional contract killing. Born in Brighton Beach, did 5 years in Attica for aggravated assault, recruited muscle from the local boxing gyms. Phoenix, this guy's connected. Rick warned through the encrypted radio. His uncle Sergey has ties to the Russian mob. You hit Danny, you might be starting a war. Then I better make sure I win it fast. I spent the afternoon conducting surveillance on Kozlov's operation. 3 mechanics working legitimate business in the front, Danny's office in the back where he conducted his real business. For enforcers rotating shifts, big guys but sloppy. They carry guns like fashion accessories instead of tools. At 2 p.m., Tyler's beat-up Honda Civic pulled into the lot. Through my scope, I watched him enter Danny's office, emerging 20 minutes later looking like he'd seen a ghost. He sat in his car for 5 minutes, hands shaking as he tried to light a cigarette. My phone buzzed. Text from Tyler. Can't call it off. Danny says you already know too much. He's moving the timeline up. Tonight at 8 p.m. Perfect. Danny had just made this personal. I texted back. Then I guess we're doing this the hard way. At 4 p.m., I drove to the bank and retrieved Dad's phone from the safety deposit box. The video was damning. Clear footage of Claire and Tyler's conversation, along with audio of them discussing the murder plot. But more importantly, it contained Tyler's confession about his gambling debts and Danny's involvement. Insurance fraud was federal territory, but conspiracy to commit murder was capital punishment in several states. I had enough evidence to put them all away forever. But prison was too easy. They tried to kill my father, and planned to murder me for money. Justice through the courts would take years, assuming it worked at all. Danny's connections could make evidence disappear. Witnesses recant. Juries sympathize with a desperate young man who made bad choices. I needed something more immediate, more personal, more permanent. Rick called at 5 p.m. Phoenix, Tyler just left Kozlov's place. Headed toward your neighborhood. GPS tracker shows 3 more vehicles following different routes. They're staging for the hit. Copy that. What about local PD response time to my address? 12 minutes average, 15 at night. Kozlov's planning a quick execution, not a prolonged firefight. Perfect. How's your cruise schedule tonight? Wide open. What do you need? 4 good men with night vision and long-range capabilities. I'm about to give Danny Kozlov the worst night of his life. At 6:30 p.m., I call Claire again. Baby, I'm about 20 minutes out. Traffic's terrible. Okay, dinner's almost ready. Drive safe. Claire, I let genuine emotion creep into my voice. I love you. Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know that. A pause. Was that guilt I heard? I love you too, Phoenix. See you soon. She hung up, probably thinking those were my last words to her. In a way, they were the last words from the man who'd trusted her completely. I parked 4 blocks away and made my way through the neighborhood on foot. Rick's team was already in position. 2 snipers covering the front and back approaches, 2 more providing close support. All former special forces, all understanding the unofficial rules of engagement when family is threatened. Through my scope, I watched Danny's crew arrive. 2 men entered through the back door, while another positioned himself across the street as a lookout. Tyler sat in his car, half a block away, hands still shaking. The psychological warfare phase of my operation was about to begin. I called Danny's cell phone, a number Rick had provided. Kozlov, this is Phoenix Donovan. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Silence. Who is this? The man you're trying to kill tonight. I'm calling to discuss terms. There are no terms. You know too much. Actually, Danny, you don't know nearly enough. For instance, did you know I spent 8 years killing people professionally? Did Tyler mention that the Navy gave me a medal for eliminating an entire terrorist cell in a single night? More silence. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off your dogs, forgive Tyler's debt, and disappear from my life forever. In exchange, I won't turn you into a war story. Danny's laugh was forced. You're bluffing. 1 man against my crew. Check your lookout across the street. Through my scope, I watched as Rick put the man to sleep with a sleeper hold, zip-tied his hands, and dragged him into the alley. The operation took less than 30 seconds. What the hell? Danny's voice came through clearly. That was my spotter. My sniper is currently drawing a bead on your forehead through your office window. Want to test whether I'm bluffing? Okay. Let's talk. What do you want? First, call your men inside my house. Tell them to abort. I can't. If they don't complete the job, Sergey will. Sergey's your problem, not mine. Make the call. A moment later, I watched through night vision as the 2 men inside my house received Danny's call and reluctantly withdrew through the back door. Good. Now, we're going to have a face-to-face conversation about respect. 10 minutes later, I entered Danny's shop through the front door, hands visible but ready. Rick's team maintained overwatch from their positions. Danny Kozlov was exactly what I'd expected. A small man trying to look bigger through expensive clothes and visible weapons. 2 enforcers flanked him, both carrying pistols like they'd learned to shoot from movies. Phoenix Donovan, you've got brass, I'll give you that. I've got training. There's a difference. I stepped closer, noting exit routes and cover positions. Tyler owes you 60 grand. I'm prepared to settle his debt. 60? It's 80 now. Interest. Fine. 80,000. But the debt transfers to me, and Tyler walks away clean. Danny's smile was predatory. See, that's where you're wrong. Tyler doesn't get to walk away. He brought me into this mess with promises of easy money from your life insurance. Now you're here instead of dead, which makes me look weak. Then what do you propose? You die tonight, Tyler dies tomorrow, and I collect from your widow anyway. Clean slate. I nodded thoughtfully. Interesting proposal. Just one problem. What's that? You're assuming you'll survive the next 5 minutes. The enforcement on my left moved first, going for his pistol. I'd anticipated it. Close quarters combat was my specialty. A quick strike to his wrist sent the gun skittering across the floor. My elbow caught him in the temple, dropping him unconscious. The second enforcer got his weapon halfway out before I closed the distance. A knee to his solar plexus doubled him over, and a precise strike to the back of his neck put him down. Danny's gun was already in his hand, but my Glock was faster. Drop it. You're making a big mistake, Donovan. Sergey's about to have bigger problems than one dead nephew. I kept my weapon trained on his center mass. Rick, status report. Rick's voice came through my earpiece clearly. All targets secured. Local PD is still 12 minutes out. Danny's eyes widened as he realized the scope of the operation. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to write off Tyler's debt. You're going to forget my family exists. And you're going to explain to Sergey that you tried to kill a decorated Navy SEAL and failed. Let him decide if that reflects poorly on his organization. And if I refuse, then you become a cautionary tale about why civilians shouldn't threaten military operators. Danny lowered his weapon. Fine. Tyler's debt is forgiven. We're done. Not quite. I pulled out my phone and showed him the video Dad had recorded. This is going to the FBI tomorrow morning, along with all the intel my team gathered today. You've got 24 hours to liquidate your operation and leave town. If you're still here when the feds arrive, I'll make sure they know exactly where to find you. You son of a... 24 hours, Danny. Use them wisely. I backed toward the exit, weapon still ready. Danny's operation was finished, but the most dangerous part of my mission was just beginning. I still had to deal with my wife. At 9:47 p.m., I stood in my own backyard, watching Claire pace nervously through the kitchen window. She'd been checking her phone every 30 seconds for the past hour, waiting for confirmation that I was dead. Tyler's car was parked around the corner. He'd returned to witness my murder firsthand. Coward couldn't even stay away from the scene. I called Claire's cell. Phoenix? Where are you? I've been worried sick. Just pulled into the driveway. Something feels off, though. Can you come outside for a second? What do you mean off? I saw a car following me for the last few miles. Probably nothing, but I want you somewhere safe while I check the house. Okay, I'm coming out the front door now. Perfect. I circled around to the front as Claire emerged, wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our last anniversary. She looked genuinely concerned. Another masterful performance. Phoenix, thank God you're safe. I was so worried when you didn't call from the airport. I pulled her into a hug, feeling her body tense slightly. I'm sorry, baby. Flight was delayed. Then I thought I was being followed. Probably just paranoid. Let's go inside. I made your favorite dinner. Actually, there's something I need to show you first. I led her toward Tyler's hiding spot. Found this under the mailbox. As we rounded the corner, Tyler stepped out from behind the neighbor's fence, clearly surprised to see me alive and unharmed. Uncle Phoenix, what are you doing here? Claire's face went white. The three of us stood in the pool of streetlight like actors on a stage, each knowing the others were playing roles. Tyler, what a coincidence. I was just telling Claire about the strange car that followed me home. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I know, of course not. I was just in the neighborhood. At 10 o'clock at night? On a Tuesday. Tyler looked at Claire desperately, but she was staring at me with growing realization. Phoenix, Claire's voice was barely a whisper. How much do you know? Everything. I pulled out Dad's phone and played the recording. Their voices filled the quiet suburban street, discussing my murder with casual indifference. Claire sank onto the front steps, her performance finally cracking. Tyler ran his hands through his hair, looking like a cornered animal. Phoenix, please let me explain. Explain what? That you've been planning to kill me for insurance money? That you beat my father unconscious when he tried to warn me? That my wife has been cheating on me for 2 years? Claire looked up sharply. How did you? Danny Kozlov was very talkative tonight. Right before I explained to him why threatening Navy SEALs is bad for business. Tyler's face went gray. You went after Danny? Phoenix, do you have any idea what you've done? Sergey will. Sergey will what? Avenge his nephew's failed attempt to kill a decorated veteran? I don't think so. I sat down across from them on the lawn, weapon within easy reach, but not yet drawn. Here's what I learned tonight. Tyler owes $80,000 to Danny's loan sharks. Claire's been having an affair with Billy Morrison from Flanagan Bar. And you both decided the easiest solution was to have me murdered. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, Claire said, tears streaming down her face. The affair, it just happened. And when Tyler came to me with his problem, it seemed like what? Like murdering your husband was a reasonable business decision. The insurance money would have solved everything. Tyler could pay off his debts. I could start over somewhere else. You were always gone anyway, Phoenix. Always on another job, another training mission. So you decided to make my absence permanent. Tyler finally found his voice. I never wanted to hurt you, Uncle Phoenix. But Danny's people, they would have killed me anyway if I couldn't pay. At least this way, Claire would have been taken care of. Touching. 2 birds, 1 stone. I stood up slowly. Here's what's going to happen now. Claire, you're going to pack 1 suitcase and leave tonight. The affair photos are already in my lawyer's hands, so the divorce will be quick and final. You get nothing. Phoenix, please. Tyler, you're going to call Danny right now and confirm that his operation is shutting down. Then you're going to drive yourself to the nearest police station and confess to conspiracy to commit murder. I can't do that. They'll give you 15 to 20 instead of life without parole. Your choice. Claire stood up, anger replacing her tears. You can't do this to us. We're family. Family. The word came out like a curse. Family doesn't try to murder each other for money. Family doesn't cheat and lie and plan betrayals. What about forgiveness? What about second chances? I looked at my wife, ex-wife, with the same cold assessment I'd used on targets in Iraq. I gave Tyler second chances when I paid for his rehab. I gave him third chances when I paid for college. I gave you 6 years of chances to be honest about what you really wanted. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting anniversaries or leaving dishes in the sink. Planning murder isn't a mistake, it's a choice. And choices have consequences. Tyler's phone buzzed. A text message. He looked at it and went pale. What is it? Claire demanded. Danny's crew found his unconscious men at the shop. They think we set them up. Tyler looked at me with growing panic. Phoenix, they're coming here. Right now. Through my earpiece, Rick's voice crackled. Phoenix, multiple vehicles approaching your position. Looks like 4 men, heavily armed. The consequences of my psychological warfare were accelerating beyond my control. But perhaps that was for the best. Claire, get in the house. Tyler, behind my truck. I drew my Glock and activated my throat mic. Rick, I need immediate extraction support. Copy that. ETA, 3 minutes. The first shots came from the darkness beyond the streetlights, rifle rounds that shattered my living room windows. Claire screamed and ran for the front door. Tyler dove behind my pickup truck, finally understanding the real consequences of the game he'd started. I returned fire toward the muzzle flashes, using my truck as cover while Rick's team moved into position. The neighbors' houses went dark as families hit the floor and called 911. Phoenix, Tyler's voice was high with panic. I didn't sign up for a war zone. You signed up when you decided to play with killers. Another burst of automatic fire chewed up the pavement near my feet. Rick, where's my backup? 30 seconds. Keep your head down. Through my night vision scope, I counted 3 shooters advancing through the neighbor's yard. Danny's remaining crew, sent to clean up loose ends. They'd kill Tyler for involving them in a failed hit, kill Claire as a witness, and kill me for humiliating their boss. The irony was perfect. My wife and nephew had invited these killers into our lives, and now they were about to reap what they'd sown. The shooting stopped abruptly. Rick's voice came through clear. Targets neutralized. 3 down, 1 in custody. Local PD is en route, 2 minutes out. In the sudden silence, I could hear Claire sobbing inside the house and Tyler hyperventilating behind the truck. Tyler, come out slowly with your hands visible. He emerged, shaking like a leaf, his shirt soaked with sweat. Are they dead? Danny's crew? Most of them. The survivor will probably flip on Sergey to avoid federal murder charges. I holster my weapon. Congratulations, Tyler. Your gambling problem just became a federal case. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Phoenix, what's going to happen to us? I looked at my nephew, the boy I'd helped raise, taught to throw a football, visited in rehab, supported through college. The young man who'd repaid my love by planning my murder. You're going to prison for conspiracy to commit murder. Claire's going to disappear into witness protection if she's smart, or end up dead if Sergei decides she knows too much. And I'm going to visit Dad in the hospital and tell him that justice has been served. But we're family. Family ended when you decided money was worth more than my life. The first police car pulled into my driveway, followed immediately by an unmarked federal vehicle. Rick emerged from the shadows, badge visible, already coordinating with law enforcement. Mr. Donovan? A federal agent approached with his hands visible. Agent Martinez, FBI. We understand you have evidence related to conspiracy charges. I handed him Dad's phone. Everything you need. Audio, video, and 3 witnesses in custody. We'll need a full statement. Of course. But first, I need to check on my father at Regional Medical. Someone tried to kill him to cover up their murder plot. Agent Martinez nodded. We'll coordinate with local PD. The scene is secure. As they led Tyler away in handcuffs, he looked back one final time. Uncle Phoenix, I'm sorry. I really am. I know you are, Tyler. But sorry doesn't bring back trust. Claire emerged from the house escorted by 2 officers, her mascara streaked down her cheeks. She didn't look at me as they guided her toward the federal vehicle. Mrs. Donovan, Agent Martinez called to her. You're being taken into protective custody pending your cooperation with our investigation. She paused at the car door and finally met my eyes. Phoenix, what we had was real, at least in the beginning. Maybe it was, but this is how it ends. The car doors closed, and I watched my wife and nephew disappear into the federal justice system. They'd survive. Tyler would serve his time. Claire would probably relocate somewhere far away with a new identity. But the family I'd built, the trust I'd invested, the love I'd given freely, all of that was gone forever. Rick appeared at my shoulder. Phoenix, you okay? I looked around at the crime scene that had been my home. Bullet holes in the siding, shattered windows, blood on the pavement where Danny's crew had fallen. Emergency vehicles strobed red and blue light across the suburban street where I'd once felt safe. I'm alive. That's more than they planned for me. What's next? First, I check on Dad. Then I call my lawyer and start divorce proceedings. After that, I shoulder my gear bag and walk toward Rick's vehicle. After that, I figure out what normal life looks like when you can't trust anyone. For what it's worth, Phoenix, you did the right thing. Did I? Tyler's going to spend the next 20 years in federal prison. Claire's life is effectively over. 3 men died tonight because they got caught up in a web of lies and greed. 3 men died because they tried to kill a Navy SEAL. Tyler's going to prison because he planned to murder his uncle. Claire's life is over because she chose money over marriage. Rick started the engine. You didn't create this situation, Phoenix. You just finished it. As we drove toward the hospital, I reflected on the night's events. The mission was complete. Threats neutralized, justice served, family honor restored. But victory felt hollow when the enemy had been family. Dad was awake when I entered his room, his swollen eyes focusing on me with obvious relief. Son, what happened? I heard gunshots from here. I pulled up a chair beside his bed. It's over, Dad. Tyler and Claire are in federal custody. Danny's operation is shut down. No one's going to hurt us again. He reached out with his good hand and gripped mine. And you? Are you hurt? Not physically. I squeezed his fingers gently. But I think I need to learn how to be alone again. You're not alone. You've got me, and you've got good friends like Rick. Family isn't just blood, Phoenix. Sometimes the people who earn your trust are more family than the ones who inherit it. The old man was right, as usual. Tyler and Claire had been blood in marriage, but they'd chosen betrayal. Rick and his team had chosen loyalty. The difference was clear. Dad, when you're healed up, want to go fishing. Just the 2 of us, like when I was a kid. His bruised face managed a smile. I'd like that, son. I'd like that very much. Outside the hospital window, dawn was breaking over the city. A new day, a clean slate, a chance to rebuild on a foundation of trust instead of obligation. The Phantom had completed his final mission. Now Phoenix Donovan could learn to live in the light again. Epilogue. 6 months later, I sat in a federal courtroom as Tyler received his sentence. 15 years for conspiracy to commit murder, with the possibility of parole in 10. Claire had cooperated fully with federal prosecutors in exchange for witness protection and a new identity. Danny Kozlov's operation had been completely dismantled. Sergei had apparently decided his nephew's failure reflected poorly on the family business and hadn't attempted revenge. Danny himself was serving 25 to life for racketeering and conspiracy charges. Dad's recovery had been complete, and true to my word, we'd gone fishing. 3 times, actually. It turned out that losing a family made room for rediscovering the family worth keeping. Rick's security firm had offered me a position as head of tactical operations, former SEALs training law enforcement instead of corporations. The work was meaningful, the pay was good, and I could sleep at night knowing my clients were the good guys. As for forgiveness, Tyler had written me letters from prison, each one asking for another chance to earn back my trust. I'd read them all but hadn't responded. Forgiveness might come someday, but trust was earned in years and lost in moments. He'd need to prove himself to the world before I'd risk believing in him again. Claire tried to contact me once through a federal handler, asking if we could talk. I declined. Some bridges, once burned, weren't meant to be rebuilt. The house had been sold after the divorce finalized. Too many memories, too many bullet holes. I bought a cabin in the mountains instead. Quiet, defensible, and far enough from civilization that the only surprises would be deer in the yard. Sometimes, late at night, I wondered if I'd been too harsh. If Tyler's desperation had deserved more sympathy. If Claire's loneliness had merited more understanding. But then I'd remember Dad's broken jaw and the cold calculation in their voices as they planned my death, and I knew I'd made the right choice. The Phantom had taught me to eliminate threats without hesitation. Phoenix Donovan was learning that sometimes the greatest threat comes from those closest to you, and the strongest defense is the wisdom to recognize that love without trust is just another form of weakness. In the end, they'd forgotten the most important lesson of all. Respect isn't inherited or assumed. It's earned through loyalty, proven through adversity, and maintained through honor. They'd lost mine forever, and that, more than any prison sentence, was the justice they'd truly earned.